Sheldon Adelson withdrew from the Oakland Raiders Las Vegas relocation project and in the process revealed something that wasn't obvious to the lay observer of this entire story of Mark Davis trying to take his Oakland Raiders out of Oaktown and to Sin City, but something that has been well known to people who have worked with and negotiated with Mark Davis for some time. In this instance, the old saying, the third time's a charm, really does apply. I'll explain why. There have been now 3 times that Mark Davis has violated basic good faith negotiating practices in this matter of the Raiders trying to seek a place to relocate to get a new stadium. The first one, at least for me, is the Carson example where I told Oakland Mayor Libby Schaaf that Mark Davis and Mark Bedane, the Raiders president, were working behind her back and trying to get a stadium built in Carson while Mayor Schaaf was working with the Raiders and were under the impression that they had a great relationship and everyone was nice and so charming. The day before the NFL Spring League meeting, she and I had a conversation. I told her that was not the case, and I told her that I would get Mark Davis on video to talk about the Carson effort and ask him why he was working behind Mayor Schaaf's back. By the time, and a number of you who normally watch my channel have seen this video, I was able to talk to Mr. Davis. Mr. Davis denied that he was trying to work behind her back to go to Carson, that he needed a new stadium, that he was trying to get something done in Oakland, but everyone knew that he was also trying to get something done in Carson, and yet simply would not cop to the fact that he was basically working in a way that had 2 tracks, or one would say just duplicitous. Okay. Of course, that didn't pan out because Stan Kroenke wound up being the victor and got approval from the NFL owners to build a stadium in Inglewood. But just prior to that, when officials from the City of Oakland and the County of Alameda and the Joint Powers Authority wanted to meet to discuss a new lease deal for the Coliseum, Davis told them to wait and hold on, and also a new stadium. Davis said wait, and he wanted to see what the outcome was going to be of the Houston NFL owners meeting of January of 2016 that gave Mr. Kroenke the right to move his Rams from St. Louis to Inglewood. And then he said, well, let's wait until late April. He did not tell the City of Oakland, the Oakland representatives, I'll call them the Oakland Minders, that he was going to pursue a stadium deal in Las Vegas. When they finally realized what Davis had done, it was in late April, April toward May, after they signed the lease agreement, and after Mr. Davis appeared before the Southern Nevada Tourism and Infrastructure Committee on April 28th, the day of the NFL draft, to present his plans or his idea of forming plans for a Raiders stadium in Las Vegas. Oakland officials were not only taken off guard, but one told me point blank that Davis lied to us. That's a quote. That is a quote. That's the second time. The third time came in Las Vegas. And that was when Mark Davis went behind Sheldon Adelson's back to the NFL and crafted a way of carving Adelson, who had spent $1 million of his own money, basically laying the political landscape for Davis, strong-arming Nevada legislator members to get votes for $750 million subsidy, and hiring an army of lobbyists in the process. getting casino owners to come to the Nevada legislature and speak on behalf of approving this subsidy. All that and more work. But what Davis did was try to work out a deal where he would use Goldman Sachs as a replacement for the $30 billion casino mogul that is Sheldon Adelson. When Adelson got wind of this attempt, he hit the ceiling. Of course, they tried to keep everything under wraps and not public, but the bottom line is that action began to sow the seeds of the destruction of their relationship. And Davis, rather than pulling back, continued on his, habit. And at the time that Mark Davis, this is last week, was negotiating with the Adelson family, and Andy Abood was with Oakland Raiders president Mark Bedane at the Las Vegas Stadium Authority meeting, there it was floated that for some time the Raiders were working with Las Vegas Stadium Authority officials on a lease proposal which did not include Sheldon Adelson, and made it sound as if the Raiders were going to determine the fate of the University of Nevada, Las Vegas, when the law that the Nevada legislature approved said specifically that the new stadium was to be built in part for UNLV. And the idea was to set a path as much for UNLV, if not more, for UNLV than for the Raiders. And at that point, Adelson said, you know what? I'm out. I'm done. I don't want to deal with this. And the reason is that Mark Davis found a person in Sheldon Adelson, unlike Oakland, who really didn't need him. You have to remember something, that from Sheldon Adelson's point of view, Mark Davis was nothing more than representative rounding error, a tool that could be used by Sheldon Adelson in his 1,000-year war against the Las Vegas Convention and Visitors Authority, who he believed should not have access to so much public money, $1.4 billion, to further grow and expand its convention empire, ostensibly, from his perspective, at the expense of his privately owned Las Vegas Sands Expo, and Venetian and Palazzo hotels and convention space, the three of which, I might add, benefit greatly from the growth of the Consumer Electronics Show annually. But I digress. For Adelson, as long as Davis provided that vessel within which to pour $750 million of public subsidy that normally would have went to the Las Vegas Convention and Visitors Authority, Adelson was happy. As long as Mark Davis stayed in his lane, played his role, Adelson was happy. But Davis, being Davis, he didn't do that. He tried to cut out the unofficial mayor of Las Vegas, with all due respect to Las Vegas Mayor Carolyn Goodman. And in the end, instead of Mark Davis once again trying to fashion an escape hatch to leave a negotiating partner in a worse off position than he was in, instead, the only thing that Mark Davis has created for himself is a rail that is being used to run him out of Las Vegas. There are those who might, or who have said that perhaps that Roski or the Fleshy brothers would work with Mark Davis. But the bottom line is that both Roski and the other billionaires have a relationship with Sheldon Adelson. This is not a vacuum situation, particularly not in Las Vegas, and particularly in a city that has been essentially politically built by Sheldon Adelson for all practical purposes. So Mark has done a good job of running himself out of town on a rail. That's really what it looks like right now. And if you look at the reactions on Twitter of Las Vegas elected officials, notice that from the governor on down, not even Las Vegas, but let's say the governor on down, Governor Brian Sandoval, to Steve Sisolak, the Clark County Commission chair, they're all pivoting toward UNLV as a political escape hatch. Well, we've got UNLV. That means the Raiders' deal for an NFL stadium in Las Vegas is dead. Oh, and this idea that Goldman Sachs is going to replace Sheldon Adelson, give it a rest. Because the thorny part of all this is, hey, what funding stream is he going to use that Goldman Sachs is going to finance? And then if you say one of the billionaires, well, show me a billionaire that's going to want to go against what Sheldon Adelson has done in Las Vegas and the scorched earth policy that he has hatched. Believe me, he's not going to let it rest just at that letter. Adelson has a number of political promises that he made out there that he is not going to take lightly for someone else trying to come in and take advantage of what he built, especially when he put out a letter saying, I'm out and this is bad. No, that's not happening. The real question here is, has Mark Davis learned his lesson and finally understood that you negotiate in good faith with business partners? I'm not sure that he has yet. And I think the NFL needs to show him the error of his ways and instruct him how to conduct business in a better, more honest and forthright way. As they say, the third time is the charm. And this was the third time for Mark Davis.